What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR. Sitting across from me this week and every week, he goes to 11. It's Desra.
And all the way to 11. But can't you just make 10 one higher?
Oh.
But this goes to 11.
It's one louder, isn't it?
And sitting across from me is Brian Paul.
And every week on Why We Love PlayStation VR, we sit around and we blow the dust off of an old PlayStation VR game, usually something from around the launch window. This one, we nailed it this time.
Yes.
And we see if it's been updated at all. Well, we see if it's been updated at all, if it's been improved at all, or if it hasn't been touched, does it stand the test of time? So that being said, what game did we pick this week, Desra?
Volume!
Yeah,
At least I backed up the mic.
At least you did.
Yeah.
Teaching things every week, kids.
Yeah, but not just volume, actually volume Coda, which is kind of important.
It is kind of important because the original game Volume came out August 18th, 2015, like effing forever ago.
Right.
And then Volume Coda, VR specific, came out October 13th, 2016. This date's sounding real familiar.
Right, and yeah, wait, what was that? Was that, I think this is when I got my first electric lawnmower.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, and that's also when we got our PlayStation VRs, and Volume Coda came on launch day to owners of Volume for free.
Right.
$19.99.
Well, yes, it was for free, but Volume was $19.99. Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Came
Very
courtesy of
confusing.
Bithell Games. Bithell, you might... Bithell Games, you might recognize the name Bithell from Mike Bithell, founder of said company.
And Thomas Was Alone.
Thomas Was Alone. You can't talk about Mike Bithell and Bithell Games without talking about Thomas Was Alone.
Not at all. No.
I love Thomas Was Alone.
Yeah, it's such a radically different game. I mean, we're doing PSVR Focus on the channel now, but one of the things we talked about before we switched all this was doing, a Thomas Was Alone game. It is so unique and so different and such an interesting approach to not just platformers but gaming entirely that it's a work of art.
When Mike Bithell made Thomas Was Alone, when he created the original idea for it, when he first got it up and running, it was he was working at a company called Blitz Games.
Yes.
He was working there from 2007 to 2011, and as a creative person, as a game developer, you have to imagine when I looked at the list of Blitz Games, of the things that they'd made between 2007 and 2011, the time that Mike Bithell was there. I mean, this was some pretty god awful stuff. This was licensed crap. This was Wii shovelware. The Biggest Loser, iCarly, Karaoke Revolution, SpongeBob SquarePants, and Bratz the movie. These were the games that Mike Bithell had to work on to work at Blitz Games.
So he had a bunch of spare cycles, is what you're saying.
Well, that's the thing. It's like for a creative person to be doing that, like going to work, it's like that's like literally a boring ass job where you're like creating other people's vision of art, right? And it's pushing it out the door.
Not of art. Not of art.
I mean, a CEO's version of making money.
Exactly.
And so like for a game developer, like obviously making something like Thomas Was Alone made a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
Told a heartfelt story about a bunch of geometric shapes. Right?
Yeah, it's and that's going to sound weird if you haven't played the game. Again, I can't stress more. You need to try that out, or at least watch some footage of it. But definitely try and play it. And like you said, though, I mean, it was a passion project. He basically crammed into whatever free time he had while he was there. It's amazing to see something like that could come, so polished and so well done from someone who's literally doing it in his spare time. Yeah. Which is a big difference from Volume.
Well, but that's the next logical step, right? Like you can't. Mike Bithell couldn't go. Okay, Thomas Was Alone was a ridiculous success. I mean, winners of tons of awards, sold millions of copies, but you can't do another game about emotional geometric shapes. Otherwise, you become the geometric shape guy. Right. So what's the next logical step?
Metal Gear Solid
VR missions, right?
Yeah.
Essentially what this is.
Yeah, and he makes no bones about it. He's very clear. If you read interviews with him, it's like, no, I really like Metal Gear Solid. I wanted to do that. This is that.
Yeah, there's nods to Metal Gear and other games strewn throughout this entire project. Yep. But if you're not familiar with Metal Gear Solid VR missions, basically VR missions strip the story out of Metal Gear,
right,
and put you into a ton of situations, like kind of maze-like rooms. And basically, you start at the bottom of the screen. You have to get to the top of the screen. You start, end, and here are all these guards or obstacles,
and hide in
cameras,
boxes.
all these things that you got to do to basically, they're like obstacle courses.
Right. And
with all of your stealthy techniques, you have to get to the end.
When is
no, it's pretty simple stuff.
Yeah.
And it was a great building blocks for volume.
And I would say, like, it's interesting you bring up plot or lack thereof. I would say even if compared to a Metal Gear plot, the one advantage you get with Mike Bithell doing a stealth game is you get a plot that makes sense. And,
yeah.
Not that I don't love, your Metal Gear, just the craziness of the characters and all that. That's fine. But it is nice to have someone who knows how to structure a story and make it make sense also.
Well, since you brought it up.
Yeah.
So there was a reason we brought up Thomas Was Alone. It wasn't just because it was made by Mike Bithell. You could tell that these games were made by the same people. And the reason for that is because the way, the delivery system in which story is being given to you is very similar in the two games.
Yeah.
You're given like these kind of like not menial tasks. Like Thomas Was Alone was an awesome platformer with like great level design, and Volume is a great Metal Gear Solid VR mission type game with great level design.
Yes.
But it's kind of like stuff for the player to do while Mike Bithell force feeds you the story through narrative and like little text messages and stuff.
Yeah, and that's the way the delivery. It's Alan is the AI who's kind of interacting with your character. Now, here's the question: are we covering Volume? Are we covering Volume Coda?
Well, so
they're very similar games, but the characters are different, and kind of the perspective of the two games is different. So
let's decipher the difference, because for anyone who hasn't played it, it might be confusing. I own the game, and I've owned it since launch, and I was still confused. I can't lie. So Volume is the game, the non-VR version.
Correct. 100 levels.
Yep.
You play as the main character, Loxley, and it's not even trying to be a subtle nod at Robin Hood. It is Robin Hood, just kind of updated for today and social media and streaming and whatnot. Guy Gisborne is the big bad, played by...
I don't know.
Oh, that's an important one.
Yeah, there's a bunch of cool actors in this.
I'm going to call this one my Des Nugget. It's not barely even a nugget, though. Andy Serkis. Gollum himself.
Yeah.
Or Snoke, Supreme Leader Snoke, for those of you who are 12 and don't remember Gollum. But yeah, so some great voice acting. Alan is actually the same voice as the narrator from Thomas Was Alone.
Yeah.
So...
yeah, I did know that one. Do you have his name?
Not off the top of my head, no. I'm so sorry.
I hear his name constantly,
yes.
and I forget to write it down. Anyway,
it was one of those like, I'm going to remember that. I don't have to write it down.
Same. Yeah, unfortunately.
Sorry.
So you can separate this into Volume and Volume Coda,
right?
Because Volume Coda are 30 specific VR specific levels with different characters.
Yes.
A different narrative.
Yes.
Different levels.
And a slightly different developer as well.
Also true.
Yes.
Still Mike Bithell in collaboration with?
Right, and I think the in collaboration with is, well, Just Add Water. Sorry, that was a nice segue that I completely ignored. And that's where I think things are a little squidgy, at least in my research. It was there's a lot of articles about the fact that Mike Bithell actually went to the hospital because he was working himself so hard making Volume. He had to get some help with some level designers, and he finally, it wasn't nearly as much of a solo project as Thomas Was Alone was. But then it's like, and then we made Volume Coda with the help of Just Add Water.
So
and it's, the question is, how much was it Just Add Water's game with a Mike Bithell seal of approval?
Yeah.
And how much was it, Mike Bithell, this was my idea, and they helped me bring it to fruition? And I couldn't find a convincing answer or a solid answer for that.
I don't know what to tell you, because this isn't Mike Bithell's only VR game.
Right.
Did Earthshape after this for Daydream, I believe. It was a Daydream exclusive.
Yep.
I think I got that wrong. Maybe I got it right.
No, that sounds right.
And so who knows? I'm sure he had input.
Right.
Who knows how much?
Well, it's just, I think it's an important question. Well, I guess it's an important question, but the plot. So in Volume, you play as Loxley. You're basically fighting a revolution against this corporate entity that is pretty much is the government now, and damn the man, all that fun stuff.
Save the empire.
Yeah, well, no,
it's wrong.
Yeah,
wrong movie.
No, right movie. Yeah. Damn the man, Lucas. But so I'm not going to get too much into it because the plot is important, and I don't want to give you any spoilers. The second game is pretty. You're not Loxley anymore. You are the troubleshooter, and you've been hired by basically the bad guys of the first game to make sure that someone like Loxley can't go ahead and do what he did the first time. So it's just kind of interesting twist, and I'm wondering, long point, did Mike Bithell say, yes, I want to tell this other part of the story, or did he say, okay, just add water, the world I've set up, go? Yeah.
Very interesting. I wish we had an answer,
right?
But we don't. Also worth noting,
if you're like Bithell, leave your answer in the comments.
Exactly. Since we're clarifying the difference between volume and volume coda, I do need to also clarify that you can play all of volume in VR. They're all 100 levels of the original game. You can also play when you start volume coda.
Right.
So but it's the exact same game you've already played.
Right.
So if you feel like skipping the 2D version and you just want to play this in VR, you still have 130 levels.
Woo.
So there's that.
Yep.
But it's not just 130 levels. Actually, you know what? I don't want to jump the gun. I want to talk about what we're doing in these levels because not everyone's familiar.
We haven't even talked about that. Yeah.
Not everyone's familiar with Metal Gear Solid VR missions. But if you are, you're going to recognize a few of these things.
You're creeping.
That's right. It's all stealth, right? You're trying to get from point A to point B. There's a little Pac-Man mixed in because you have to go collect all the dots on your way. They're supposed to be valuables.
And you get these big-ass scary weapons that let you mow down your opponents wave after wave. No, not even a little bit.
No, everything's super stealthy.
Right. You don't even get like a little spitball shooter. No.
Yeah. And but you do get some pretty cool gadgets, though.
Yes.
The gadgets are awesome, and they definitely take some time to get used to. And it's all about distraction.
Right. Like there's the bugle, which lets you kind of make sound far away.
Yep.
One of my favorite things to do, and actually there's quite a lot of levels that require this, is flushing toilets.
Yep.
Apparently nothing drives security guards crazier than the sound of a flushing toilet in the next room.
Right.
So.
You can also whistle.
Yes.
Whistling's nice. You can just whistle whenever you want to, which makes me wonder why we're even flushing toilets. But it's the equivalent of, knocking on the wall as Solid Snake. You can even climb in lockers a la Solid Snake. So there's a lot of inspiration here.
And there's multiple different types of enemies. There's the first ones you meet are pawns. They're very kind of dumb. They just sort of like hear a noise. They go to where that noise was and,
Yeah.
All the way up to, I think... there's archers which kind of like fire projectiles at you, which sounds scarier, but actually I think were kind of easy to avoid.
Yeah.
But then there's the dogs.
The hounds.
Oh, hounds.
Yeah. The hounds suck because the hounds they alert all of the other guards to your presence. So the thing is it's not like I think the VR missions. I think when you were spotted, it was over. It's been a long time, guys. Give me a break. It's been like 30 years. But this in all of volume, it's pretty lenient, I gotta say.
Yeah,
because if you're spotted and you quickly duck in the cover,
you can run away.
You can run away pretty easily. And sometimes you get yourself into so much trouble that you're just like, just shoot me.
Yeah,
just shoot me because it's easier to the checkpoints are everywhere.
Yeah, I found myself at one point, there was just kind of a long wall, and I was running around, but exactly the right pace for it was one of the pawns to just catch me every time I went around. It's like, okay, I have no other option other than to run around the circle like this. So eventually, after going around like 6 times, like, all right, fine.
Yep.
You got me. Yeah. But yeah, sorry, I totally ran over what you were saying. Yeah, there's checkpoints everywhere within the levels.
Yeah.
And the level themselves reload pretty quickly.
Yep.
So when you die, it's almost instantaneously, which is a big contrast to the game itself.
We didn't even discuss this.
No, we haven't talked about that.
If you own volume, you might think it's broken.
Yes.
I thought it was.
I did too. Yeah. Even after you warned me, I was like, oh no, Brian was wrong. Mine is really broken.
Yeah. So you go and you select your game from your PlayStation 4 home screen, right? And it loads up and it gives you this screen that says push this button for volume and push this button for volume coda, and you push that button, and then it goes to like a Bithell Games loading screen, and like a little bar that looks like this much is loaded, and the bar's like this long.
Yep.
and nothing happens for roughly 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, I didn't time it myself, but it was one of those that waited so long. Like, oh, my system must have frozen.
Oh yeah, I'm not exaggerating. Yeah, 7.5 minutes.
It's a crazy amount of time.
Yeah.
To the point where I okay, well, something happened, so I'll just close out the application, start it up again. Oh, that didn't work. All right, I'll just reboot my whole system. Nope, still the same problem. And eventually, with enough patience, boom, the game will start and everything's fine.
Yeah,
and there's no other loading problems after that.
None at all.
Nope.
So I'm very curious to know what happened. I actually sent Mike Bithell a DM today.
Oh, did you? Okay.
But I didn't. I forgot that he's British, and so so by the time I sent it, he was already like sleeping. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. So maybe we'll have an answer tomorrow. Who knows?
If you have an answer for us, Mike Bithell, leave it in the comments below.
We'd love to know. We're very curious. Like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. The only way I discovered that it wasn't broken is because I started it up and I was like, oh man, this thing is totally broken.
Yeah.
I forgot to turn it off. I went into the other room, this room, and then like in 7 minutes, I heard the theme music and I was like, what's going on? I was like, oh, the game started. That can't be right.
And for those of you who are saying, oh, maybe it's because of one, he's tried it on the Pro, I've tried it on the OG. It's the same with both of ours.
Yeah, we don't know what the hell's going on. Yeah. It's very strange. We checked out, everything's updated. We got the most up to date. Yep, nothing. Very strange.
Right. So,
but it works. That's the important part. It started about 7 minutes before you want to play it.
Yeah. But going back to, so when you actually do die or get caught in a level, it does pretty instantly reset and right to the last checkpoint. And there are checkpoints everywhere on these levels. So.
Now the question is, like, did you think the game ever got hard?
No, I didn't think there were too many levels where it's like, oh, you must do it exactly this way in this sequence, otherwise you can't do it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of times where like you could get caught by a guard and just kind of run away, or again, the AI isn't very smart, and in fact, actually, so I don't know if you can find this on the PS versions. But on the Steam store, there is actually a manual you can find and download.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And there's a note from Guy Gisborne saying explicitly that we couldn't really spend the time or money to really get the AI great, so we're gonna pretend. So we acknowledge that it's not realistic, but blah 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 blah. Yeah. And that's true. Like they'll see you, and all you have to do is just like duck behind the nearest wall, and where'd you go?
So but I need to put this in perspective.
Yes.
Right? So what happened is that I, like I do often, start a game and don't finish it. So I dropped back into this game after not having played it for a year and a half, and I was like, well, I don't want to play all the same missions I played a year and a half ago. Let me drop into the most recent one, the like level 50 or wherever I was at. And I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I died like every 5 seconds, and I was like, this is insane. How the hell did they expect me to play this?
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I better, for this show, for this episode, start back at level 1. And I went through level by level by level, and what I realized is that like they're really, really good at teaching you a little something different in every single level. And whether it be, hey, when you have a guard on the other side of a wall and it's this shape and then blah blah blah, then maybe your best bet is this and running in this direction. It's very simple stuff that like starts to like pile up in your brain, and like you just kind of use it as a vocabulary to navigate and learn gadgets and all that stuff. So, and so
almost like a similar title. Thomas Was Alone.
Exactly.
I mean, it's the same. It's exactly the same kind of learning curve as Thomas Was Alone.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So that's the thing though. It's like I tried to drop into level 75 or 50, wherever the hell I was, and I was like, man, I can't do this. But by the time I got back to level 75, I'd played every single level between 1 and 74, and I had that knowledge, and I was like, this is a breeze. I can't believe it was even an issue when I jumped back in. But that's the thing. It's like, so it's never a difficult game because it's teaching you along the way. It's giving you all the information you need to know to get past the next level.
And it's really, because of that, it's really aimed at speedrunners, I think. I think people, because you start the game and it gives you like a par time basically. So you can finish the level in above the par time, and there's no negatives for that, but it's always sitting there bugging you saying, most people can do this in a minute and a half, and you took 10 minutes. So,
and of course there's online leaderboards,
and there's leaderboards
showing you just how fast people could do these things, and so it makes it a little more arcadey. Like I said, I called it like reminding me of Pac-Man for certain reasons, but it reminds me of an old classic arcade game for this reason.
Yeah.
I like it.
There's one, and actually we haven't even talked about this yet.
Nope.
Which is where. So, what does VR bring to the game?
Well, it made me want to play it. and that's actually I don't want to say that as a joke and then let it go. I want to say that as a joke and then stick with it.
Yeah.
Because there are so many games. I just reviewed Rooms: The Unsolvable Puzzle.
Sure.
And that is like one of those, those plastic sliding puzzle games?
Yes.
I hate those with a passion.
Absolutely.
Rooms: The Unsolvable Puzzle is the video game equivalent of that. And I was like, I'm gonna hate this. But I put on the VR headset, and I was like, charming music, with the headphones on. It distracted me from my cell phone and every other distraction.
Okay.
And it made me go, Brian, pay attention to this puzzle and let's solve it. And that's what VR does for volume for me.
Okay.
It made a game that I would have totally passed on.
Yeah.
Something that I'm interested in because it's in VR, but also something I can focus on because I've blocked out the rest of the world.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Other than nothing.
Yeah, and that's
nothing.
That's really kind of the point I want to make. If you like this game, you will like the VR version because it really is just the same thing. I mean, when they talk about volume, it's not talking about sound; it's talking about volume as in a space. Like volume is the name of the place that Loxley is doing his activities in. With the VR version, the troubleshooter is doing the same thing as Loxley was, but instead of volume, it's in VR. So your character is actually looking at this thing in VR. So you are literally in the footsteps of point of view of the character. The problem is what you're seeing is just the levels, just in the 3-dimensional space, and you can tilt it and move it around.
Zoom in and out a little bit,
but
quite a bit actually.
Yeah, but there's no reason to do that because if you tilt it, all you're going to end up doing is hiding stuff you need to see.
That's so frustrating because what I initially did when I went to VR, I was like, I can mess with this a little bit,
cool.
And so I took the whole thing and I turned it on its side,
right,
and then I zoomed way in, kind of like above the shoulder. I wanted to play this in a third-person action game mode. Mm-hmm. Devil May Cry, Metal Gear Solid VR missions, whatever, and then the camera didn't follow my guy around.
No,
so it was fun to like zoom it in, and then it was totally useless.
Yeah, I was really hoping that here's volume and here's the VR version. It's going to be first, the same game, maybe the same levels, but in first person view. That would be amazing.
It also incredibly difficult, but I'd be down to try it.
And it's not that. It's just it is the game.
Yeah.
It's 30 new levels.
Oh, yep.
Okay, and a new story, and I'm not digging him for that.
Especially since it was free for people
and
who
totally
already
free.
owned it.
Absolutely, yeah. But it's one of the we talked about games that VR makes everything better. Mm-hmm. We've talked about a handful of games that VR makes things so much worse. I think this is the first game that VR really made no difference for me.
Yeah, no, this was VR made everything exactly the same.
Yep.
But again, for all the reasons I listed before this discussion, it made something that wouldn't be interesting to me to me. Also, we can't let this go.
Okay.
This might be what gives this game more legs than any other game we've ever talked about, and that's the level editor.
Absolutely,
dude. So we said there's 100 original levels and 30 Coda levels, but then there's like infinite numbers of community made levels.
Yep.
And this is like such a robust level editor where it's like
crazy. It's like building with Legos.
It's like building with Legos, but it's incredible. Yep. You can basically make the entire game that they made with these tools. I'm assuming this is probably how they did it.
Sounds like, yeah.
But you can build floors and walls, and you can put objects, you can place objects, you can put text down, so like we didn't even talk about how you run around the levels and find little text documents, but you can type in your own text documents and for people to read. So you can make a funny game, you can make a scary game, you can make a whatever, and it's just such versatile tools. And I played a bunch of the community levels.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, really well done.
Oh yeah, and he actually was reading an interview with him, and he was basically saying he wants this to be like the Vampire the Masquerade kind of, with. Once the game is out there in the wild, he wants to see a robust community that's going to keep it alive for 3, 4, 5 years after its release, and it looks like it's on the way to doing that.
Yeah, I mean, endless appeal here for people who are aspiring level designers or game designers. You can see what other people did, and you can immediately see if they are good or bad designs, and then you can it doesn't take long to get used to these controls. This isn't like Little Big Planet where you're like, man, it's going to take me 2 hours just to learn how to do this. This is like immediately I was just laying down floor everywhere and then building walls and just putting stuff down, leaving notes around saying, watch your back, you're about to die. All sorts of weird things. And I was just like, this is so much fun. I mean, I don't want to make a game, but it was fun making a level for sure.
Yeah. So I think we're...
Yeah, I think that's
okay.
We always end up at the same place, and that's time to rate this game.
Yeah, so our rating scale is pretty simple. Number 1 is, oh my god, you have to buy this game. If you have a PSVR, it has to be in your library. Just stop watching now, go over to Amazon or whatever PlayStation Store, pick it up immediately. 2, yeah, it's okay. It's great. If you like the genre or if it's on sale or something like that, yeah, sure, pick it up. It's not going to hurt you and may even have some fun with it. 3 is no. Do not buy this. Friends don't let friends buy crap. We need to vote with our wallets and tell people we deserve better.
Yeah.
So, a 1, 2, or 3?
I want to preface this
Uh-oh.
by saying something very important.
Opening statement. Yes.
Closing statement. I love Mike Bithell. I don't know him personally, but I love Thomas Was Alone.
Yes.
I think he does great work. I think he's an amazing talent. I think his games are clever and well written.
Yep.
And and Thomas Was Alone probably is going to go down in history as one of my top 10 favorite games of all time. Volume told a great story.
Yeah.
Didn't tell it as well as Thomas Was Alone.
Okay.
In my opinion, or it wasn't as good of a story or a story that connected with me as much as Thomas Was Alone. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. But it still had this amazing charm to it. And when you look at gameplay footage like this, you don't think, man, this game has some charm to it.
Right.
You go, man, this is like real simple and boring and like by the numbers maze crap, right?
Okay.
And it's surprisingly much, much better than it could possibly seem on the surface. That said, because of the gameplay style, because of what you're doing, I'm not a fan of stealth games. I've never been a fan of the genre. I like them. I don't love them.
Okay.
And there's just not enough. There's just not enough meat here for me to give it a 1, even though I desperately want to.
Yeah.
So this is about as strong of a 2 as I can possibly ever give.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna kind of echo some of the things you said, but this is I an opposite and different. Wow.
So we can just start the whole show over.
Yeah, we probably should.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode.
In contrast is the word I'm looking for. In contrast to what you're saying.
Contrast.
Yeah. I think this is a really well done stealth game. I think this does look good. I think if this is the kind of game you like, this is one of the best examples of that.
Yeah.
I think the aesthetic he chose with all flat polygons and all that, I think it works out very, very nicely. I think it looks good. But to me, when I hear this is a game made by the guy who made Thomas Was Alone, I'm looking for something like new and breathtaking. I mean, you fire Thomas Was Alone, and in 30 seconds, this is something I haven't done before. I haven't seen before. This is a new way of approaching storytelling in games. This is a new way of approaching gaming, period. Wow, I need to just buckle in and go along for the ride. You don't get that with Volume. You get, this is really well done. This is really well interesting. It's, again, it's knowingly saying, okay, we're going to retell the Robin Hood story. It does that very, very well.
Yeah.
It doesn't at all feel like just cookie cutter, cranking out, just a game to make a game. It's definitely a labor of love, but it doesn't have that breathtaking, like, wow, what is this? That Thomas Was Alone had. So I'm going to give it a 2 as well, for many of the same reasons. If you like stealth games, absolutely pick it up. If it drops on sale, I mean, what do you want? He gave you an extra 30 levels for totally free.
Yeah. Like if this was, God, I hate saying this because it's not really about price at this point, right? Because for $20, I think you get a ton of content, a level designer, a ton of community content.
Yeah.
It's just, if it's your style of game, definitely pick it up.
Yeah.
And if it's not your style of game, I don't think getting it for $10 is really going to change your opinion of it. So that's kind of why I hate giving it a 2.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like, oh, if it's on sale, pick it up. No, if it's your style of game, pick it up anyway.
Yeah, I think 2 can kind of work for both.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, too, if you like it, this is one of the few games we've talked about where the VR experience and the flat experience are very similar. So if you don't feel like putting the headset on but still want to play, you know, fire it up, wait 7 minutes, and then play.
For sure. Yeah. That said, you know, I don't want anyone to think that like every time. Like we like Mike Bithell, we like Thomas Was Alone, just because we don't want to ever say, hey, you have to reinvent the wheel every time you make a game.
Oh God, no.
But
no one can do that.
I just wanted to clarify for everyone.
Yeah.
But what I do want to say is that Mike Bithell has created a style of game, and like I said, when I started Volume, I was like, yeah, even if I didn't know, I'd be able to tell because I'm doing some menial tasks so that the story can be told to me while I'm doing said menial tasks, right? And I'm like, that just screams Mike Bithell to me.
Right.
And so I would love to see like what else he could do with the same formula, but maybe in a genre that is more Brian Paul than Volume is.
All right.
That's all I got to say.
First-person shooter. There we go.
Yeah, totally down. I'm totally down. Do you know he just came out with a new game that's a text adventure?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm very, very curious to see that.
Oh, I got to try that out.
Yeah, very cool.
In VR?
Unfortunately,
big floating
not.
sans serif text.
Horrible.
Times New Roman, 800 point.
It's Zork.
Oh.
All right, guys. So as we always say before we close out the show, obviously we want to know what you think of Volume. This is a game that I never reviewed for the channel, so I'm glad we get to sit down and do this. But also, you know, we want to know what you think. Are you on the same page as us? Do you love stealth games? Is this like right up your alley? Is this your favorite PlayStation VR game?
And actually, this is a stealth game. I mean, if you bought Volume, you could have a PSVR game sitting there in your library and not even know it.
Oh, it's so stealthy.
That's weird, huh?
Also, did you think Volume was broken too?
Yeah, that's a good question because, you know...
how many of you are out there thinking your game is broken?
Right.
And like, oh, I can't play this.
Is it just us? Because I'm totally open to the fact that
There's no way.
Well,
there's no way. Anyway.
Who knows?
Oh, well. Also, what other games would you like us to talk about? We're always down to suggestions. We always have a list going, but we're happy to add your games to the list. Sorry, no Battlezone currently. No E-Valkyrie currently. No Dirt Rally currently.
I haven't tried Eve Valkyrie.
Oh, good luck.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, I would love for you to try it and then take the rest of the day off.
Okay.
For another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR, I'm Brian Paul.
I'm Desra.
And we'll see you next week.